Alright, so today's video, I'm going to be talking about the ACS Armored Combat Sports National Championship that happened in Reno just last weekend, where I went and competed with my team, the New England Executioners, against other teams around the country, and where we took gold in the men's 5-on-5. And I want to talk to you about the event itself, how it went, why it's such a good event, why I enjoyed it, some of the pros, I'm mostly pros, maybe some cons if I can think of any of them, and kind of talk to you about why I love this event so much and how important it was to me. And the next video after this, we're going to actually show you some of the fights, the recordings that I had from it. Alright, so before we talk about the fight, I do want to talk about sponsorship. So as anyone who follows my channel knows, we are sponsored by Canadian Bowhurt. There is a link down below. If you mention Woodchuck Night before going to them, you get 10% off your order for Bowhurt and armored combat weapons, falchions, swords, axes, all those wonderful things. I have big news. We'll be doing an auction with them soon on a very special weapon. I don't want to give it away yet, but it is coming. And once we have it, we'll be doing an auction for it. So you may be able to get it at a cool price or get something unique. And also want to talk about my own page. If you go to woodchucknight.shop, which the link is down there below as well, you can buy t-shirts like this Nightmare shirt, support my local team, buy Woodchuck Night stuff, buy gear, hats, t-shirts, pants, anything you want to help support my channel, get cool stuff, and I really appreciate it if you buy those things. Now, getting to the actual conversation, Armored Combat Sports ACS Nationals Championship in Reno, Nevada this year. So I've been to this event now 4 years in a row. Each year it keeps getting bigger. It is held at Legion SportsFest. So what is Legion SportsFest? Legion SportsFest is a festival of all different types of athletic endeavors and sports. I'm going to put a clip of the walkthrough here of the arena. Some of it I went through. I just walked through it with my camera. There's a lot more there. Talked about some of the stuff that's going on there. So there's a bunch of different cool things. There is CrossFit events, there's powerlifting, there's arm wrestling, there's other strongman events, there is a bunch of bodybuilder competitions, and I'm not an expert on those, so IFBB Pro and all different things are there. So that's really cool. It's a whole bunch of kind of a festival of athleticism. And in that, there's also vendors and sponsors, and you get free energy drinks from Celsius, which is really cool if you're at the event. A bunch of different awesome people were there. I really like talking with them and sharing our story about armored combat. One of the really cool things that was there this year was roller derby. I'm a big fan of roller derby. I've watched roller derby. I've got friends who've played it. I think it's a really fun sport. And there was roller derby for the first time ever there. So here's some video of that and all the women just playing roller derby and competing. It was really cool to see this added to the event as well. So if you come to Legion SportsFest, of course you can just watch the Armored Combat Tournament. It happens all day for 2 days straight. But you can also check out other events and things like that. So you come to our section, Armored Combat Sports. Like I said, 4th year we've been there. This year it was bigger than ever as far as the location and setup. We had this huge banner in the background. We had stadium bleacher seating. We had this really cool kind of area and space that was ours. You can really tell that they put some time and thought in the development of this. And we had large changing areas for the fighters too, which is always nice. On each side of the list, hidden behind the barriers, we had plenty of space to lay out our gear. Never felt cramped, never felt overwhelmed. So what I liked about this event, I think one of the coolest and best things that we did here that I have not seen done in any big tournament I've been to before was really keeping fights on a very strict schedule. So it was fights on the 15s. There was a match every 15 minutes, and it was held to religiously. So why is this great? It meant that you knew really when you were going to have your next match. So we fought, I think, the 3rd match of the day, and then we didn't have another one for 3 or 4. So I knew, okay, I have a full hour in between. I have exactly an hour, right? Or I knew, so you could go out, you could go to the bathroom, you could fix gear, you could go get an energy drink. Like, you had that time. So that was really cool. It made it very easy for the fighters to understand when they were competing, what they were doing. There's none of that rushing to get people on the list. It was just so well laid out and so comfortable like that it really let you focus on the competition and the fighting. I absolutely loved that. The other thing it did, especially an event like this where you're competing for eyeballs, right? So there are a bunch of people coming into this event to watch all different sports. is it made it very easy as you were walking around throughout the day, because I didn't do the duels in the morning, so there was duels in the morning, and I was walking around talking to people, and I'd tell them what we're doing, and be all excited, say, when do I get to watch it? And I'd say, hey, here's the schedule. And if you want to come over on, I'm fighting at 2:15, right? And it's exactly that. Come by and watch on the 15s. And that allowed you to really help people figure out when to come watch it and what to pay attention to and what the schedule was. The other cool thing about that, again, is it kept it low stress. But it meant that if a fight was very, very quick, you weren't being rushed in a list. If a fight was longer, 15 minutes is plenty of time. No one ran over that time in the event, so we didn't have to worry about that. It just went really wonderful. I think that was kind of the coolest thing about the structure of it this year and the layout, the format. The other thing I really liked about this event was just the competition and the competitors. So we had some really good teams. SJK was out there, San Jacinto Knights. I can't say that ever, but so I just call them SJK. Tulsa was there. We had a couple Merc teams that were actually composed of pretty good fighters put together. We had the Average Joes, and there was a North Horde, a California, Las Vegas team. I can't remember which one it was, I'll be honest. And the cool thing, though, is that everybody got along, right? Everybody was there to get better, work, compete with each other. And it was one of the first tournaments I've been to with a bunch of teams where it felt like it was about the competition and not about the drama. And I really loved that. Was the reffing and fighting perfect? No. No, it wasn't, right? There was one very blatant neck shot that didn't get called that we saw. There were a couple situations where I think that should have been a penalty or shouldn't have been, and that's fine, though. That's sports. Like, that's okay. You're not going to catch everything in an event. Like, one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy is when you go watch a replay of a fight or you slow it down and someone goes, oh, look at that penalty. I should have called that right there. I was like, have you ever watched any replay of like an NFL game and how many penalties the linemen get away with every single play, right? Like, you can't see everything. And I'm not saying do it even in maliciously. Just, things are going to happen in a fight. You're going to make a mistake, and it's going to be, if it's not blatant, it's probably not going to get called, and that's okay. And sometimes even the blatant things get missed. It's live. Refs are watching a bunch of different things, and people are running around hitting each other with weapons. So, I just like the fact that everyone was cool and everyone there got along and everyone wanted to do the best they could. You beat a team, you congratulate each other. At one point, one of the guys that was fighting, his gauntlet came off and we smothered him and made sure he was safe because we cared about that person. We don't want them to hurt. We want to beat them in the fight. We want to beat them up a little bit. We don't want to injure them, right? And I think that kind of mindset really permeated the whole event and made everybody super comfortable. And I just loved that, right? So, executioners went out there. We went out with a different group than we usually had. We were actually short. We were only at 6 fighters for the event, and one of those was a Merc that we had brought in, Mason, who actually did fantastic. Really glad to have him on our team anytime. But we won. So we won all of our matches. We have a really good team, a strong team. Anyone who's followed the sport knows the executioners are one of the top teams. I'm very happy to fight for them. So I did win gold at ACS Nationals, which made me very happy. Yay, I love that. But, I think that overall, the event itself was just fantastic. So one of the pros and one of the cons for me is that it's in Reno. What do I mean by that? First of all, I'm on the East Coast, so flying over to Reno is very expensive. It's all the way across the country. Reno is not a cheap place to fly to and go to. I'm sure if you're on the West Coast, maybe it's cheaper for you. There's probably some East Coast events you feel like that about too. I don't know. But I do know that Reno tends to be more expensive. I did stay at the actual hotel, the casino, the Atlantis, where the event was held. For me, that is more reasonable because I can take a shuttle to it, stay there the whole time. I don't have to rent a car, but the hotels are more expensive. The food is expensive there compared to other stuff. Of course, you can go out and things too, but convenience means you tend to eat a couple meals, at the casino, which can be a little more pricey. It's not a cheap event, right? So that's a con for sure. And getting a whole country to move to one coast is always tricky. We have the same problem coming to the East Coast. But that's a con. But it's also a pro. It makes it a very unique, cool event that I get to go to once a year, right? So I got to go there. I got to go to a couple local things around Reno before the fight, and particularly after, because I took an extra day. I got to be at the casino and eat at some of the nice restaurants. That was wonderful. We had team dinners, and we really felt like we all kind of connected, and everyone was just there together. So that's a pro and a con, but the expense is definitely something to consider for an event like this. Would I encourage your local team to come to this event? Yes. I think there are some events that it is really about just like top qualifier teams, and if you're kind of a local or club team, it might be rough. This one didn't feel like that. We definitely had some high competition fighting. It felt very good. You know, and I know that some teams performed better than they thought they might have, or maybe not as well. That happens at every tournament. But I do feel like this is a place where you could come and experience it, and you'll get along with everybody, and they'll want to compete with you. And we actually had one team that, you know, before the event, they actually came out and they said, hey, we're struggling today. Like, if you beat us, can you give us some feedback on some techniques? And I was like, yeah, great. So we went over and talked afterwards. I hear something I think you maybe made a tactical mistake on, or a situational play and all that. And because, again, while it's a competition, all of us there want to see the sport grow, right? That's what this kind of event is about. It's not a fighter-only event. I think that's kind of the big thing. So some of the events we go to, while they're fantastic, I think about like the qualifiers last year, Nashville Armored Combat. I had a fantastic time in Nashville. I think the competition was awesome. I think the location and the fighting was great, and I think that it was really cool, but it was just fighters. It was a fighter event, right? So fighters went, fighters fought, fighters watched. There weren't fans, right? This event, you have a stadium seating full of people who are awed and wowed to see you, right? We walked around handing weapons to people and letting them try them, dinging them off our armor, and just being able to experience the sport and really grow it. And to me, that's why this is so special. And it's done in a sport-based environment. So there are other events that do stuff like this. I'm not saying that this is the only one. This is one that I've gotten to experience 4 different times, and each time I'm glad that I went. So that's really my review of it. I think that, again, you had a great location while a little more expensive, acknowledged. You had really cool structure with on the 15s. You had the real ability to have fans come and watch and learn about the sport. You had enough people talking about it, sharing expertise. You also got to watch a bunch of other cool sports. Like I said, I watched some Muay Thai fighting afterward. There was Olympic fencing there too. So I went over and talked to the fencers and, in our armor, and looked at their fencing, their foils versus, I brought Dustin's two-handed chopper over there, just kind of to share different stories. So just a cool experience with a bunch of different people, right? Fights in the 15s were fantastic. The reffing was adequate. I think it was consistent. I think it could have been better, but I think it was consistent. So that's the biggest thing I care about. But I think the biggest thing is the fighters were all there to compete, have a good time, and experience it together, and then go home happy. And even the breakdown went really fast. People took all the equipment and helped everyone clean up the list and stuff after. So just a really cool experience. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I'll be probably going back again. I'm glad my executioner team took gold. That's really my story for this one. Like I said, I'll put a video up a little bit later showing a few of the rounds that I did get able to snag recordings and videos of people from. So that's really the thing. Oh yeah, how did I do? Let's talk about that. I fought okay. Right? So this was a tournament where I did my job, but I didn't do much extra. What do I mean by that? I'm a rail fighter. My job's to tie people up. I am supposed to get takedowns. I'm supposed to beat people. But I am supposed to control the rail, fight 2 people if I get the opportunity, do that pretty often. I really just did my job. There were a lot of rounds where I was grappling one guy, and then all of a sudden the whole round was over because my team just rolled people, right? So I was like, okay, good job, team. So on the one hand, I want to improve, right? So I'm taking that back. I'm watching tape. I'm learning what I, did well and what I could improve on. There were definitely a couple throws that I missed, and I'm frustrated about because I had positioning and the guy slipped out because I didn't turn my hip all the way on one and blah 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 for technicalities. But what I was really impressed about was how well my team fought. So I had a day where I wasn't, at my absolute best. I was good. I was okay, right? Like I did my job, yay. Like I didn't get taken down. I did go down. I went down once in the tournament. Actually, I had a gauntlet stripped off me too, so I went down for that. Other than that, I stayed up, which is cool. But staying up doesn't win me fights. It just doesn't lose you fights, right? So my team did fantastic. Kearney, who is just becoming a monster out there with takedowns. Dustin all over the place, blasting people with two-handed chopper, as well as getting takedowns. Kat dominating the other side of the list. And then Xander, who was our newest fighter on the executions with us. Great job. Like, I really was watching a lot of stuff, very impressed by his growth and experience over the last year or so, really just showing some real development into being that, into that fighter who I go, hey, yeah, you're on our line, you're doing great. And then we had Mason, who was the Merc. Mason's first time fighting with us. Mason did fantastic. There was actually a couple rounds where he got kind of like jostled around a little bit and confused, but that's because he doesn't fight with us. Like all of us train together, and we kind of have like an oiled machine of movements, and he picked up on it really fast, which was super cool. So, and he had actually two times he came to help me with a takedown, and we got a 2v1 real quick. He got a quick takedown, so he did an awesome job. Really glad to have him. So the team did well. Team did fantastic. There was some really all-star moments. I did my job, so I'll take it. It got me gold. Would I like to do better? Sure, but I am happy that I was able to be what my team needed, so the rest of my team could be all-stars. So that's really it. Like, subscribe, follow, all that cool stuff. Check out Canadian Bowhurt. Check out my link below for Woodchuck Night. Continue to follow because there will be fight videos up, and like I said, there'll be a special auction for a Canadian Bowhurt weapon at some point soon that I don't want to give away until we have it. And that's really it. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.